Hello family, and welcome back to the channel, Everything Sierra Leone. Today, we don't come back with the World Happiness Report, where we see they make news in a salon, where they make rounds, discussions, they go on about it, and people are concerned about how Sierra Leone go dey second to last out of 147 countries in the world. It just sits now just on top of Afghanistan, where we know they don't fight war all these years, and at the moment they rule by a Taliban government where they suppress or oppress women and all of that. So they're bound for be unhappy. They don't have freedom, democracy is missing, and these are things where the World Happiness Report they look at. They look at democracy, human rights, and the GDP per capita, the social support where people get in the country, healthy life expectancy, freedom, generosity, and the perception of how people see corruption in the country. So, Salon in 2023 was the third least happiest in the country, in the world. In 2024, it go up to fourth position, sitting on top of Lebanon, Lesotho, and Afghanistan. And then they don't drop right down to second to last, when only Afghanistan they ahead of. We know say Finland, Denmark, Iceland, Sweden, Netherlands, Costa Rica are the six countries respectively we are the most happiest in the world. But it sad for we as a country for see we the drop rather than we the go up, which is very sad and hope no day. We don't get a lot of things that don't happen in Sierra Leone. We don't contribute to this. The economy is bad. We don't get drugs and cartel, then we don't invade the country. We don't get an attempted coup. We don't get fighting between the opposition. We don't get August 20. We get an economy where inflation rise over 50% at one point. We look at unemployment, youth unemployment. They are very high level. So people are bound to be unhappy. And how long this trend go there? And it is really, really sad. Let we listen to an audience, a guest on a Liberty Online Television, where he talk as to why Sierra Leone don't find itself in this position.
It's like very sad news. When you look at the historical perspective, this world happiest country that started in 2012. If you look at the statistics from 2012 to now, you just say we just go behind in the sense that we don't make any developments, but rather we push they go behind because we they call them a geometric retrogression, because we expect say with a lot of things that they go on. Or for don't say this country also in terms of happiness, for be happy. But when you look at the nature way then do the parameters, it's quite different from other index that we don't get. For example, we talk about the MCC index, we not merely the people then in the meet and question them, but rather they look at policies passed, But when you look at this, now we self they give the answers to the questions that they ask, whether we're happy or not. The ordinary man, we make them very, very empirical, as compared to other areas there, because you meet the man at street, you ask him question, I am happy or I'm not happy. You get a lot of things where you take into consideration for that. Income. Salon per capita income is low. It was about, I think, about 470. It's Leone per person. Because you talk about the per capita, you look at the whole people in the country, the resource want to get, you divide them. When you divide that particular amount, they want to get, one person they get about $478. We very, very, very small, So as a result of that, the per capita income is down. Then look at the issue of corruption and governance. We now one major issue where Salon face as a challenge for some time for quite too long, but we always at an ebb very frustrating. So when you look at that corruption, the state of corruption that the country, of governance, you look at, because we always talk about good governance and bad governance. The opposite of good governance is bad governance. And when you look at a lot of issues, then they find out, say, we governance system not well structured. If you look at the internal dynamics of that the government, that is to say, party, business, like the SLPP, for example, currently in governance, you find out, say, the internal wrangling within the party, a major reason we undermine governance like a country. So that's one aspect that they also, you look at the issue of human rights. We know, say, there have been a lot of human rights abuses. And when you put all things together, even political instability, there are certain things that we treat with a pinch of salt, where the next day they make people happy. Because if you look at the situation as it is, you look at the political situation in the sense that where conflicts, if you look at the past years, so now you look, stability is small, but we don't face a lot of issues in terms of political stability. All that's the way they put together for measure whether the people in the country happy. Sometimes people like you talk say, this government is greedy. When I say government is greedy because the flow of cash not the day, which they make me too happy. When then they go on, you look at the aspect of unemployment is huge. Because now when you get job, you well paid, you go happy. Even one day we get job, you understand? Now pittance, like they get. Look at teachers.
Disconnected. Personally, my experience, you don't need to ask me if I'm happy. The situation, the circumstances, already the detail why I'm not be happy. So from a personal, and your question is very important because this report, well-being, basically talk about your personal opinion on your condition of living. So I will tell you, say, I'm not happy, but I will tell you, Sierra Leoneans generally not happy, but it's by the grace of God. Because if you look at, for example, the economics, if you look at the political, if you look at freedoms, all of those things, they're so challenging. So
Yeah, so thank you to Ifambul and Liberty Online where they bring this program. And we don't see the two speakers that waiting and say, and they make sense because that's all man they feel. When people are not happy, then they express them. And Sierra Leone is not a happy place. We know to see anything. Look like Lantern Parade. For how many years it's been off, where people like enjoy and enjoy themselves. But where people are not getting money in their pockets, just as our per capita is $478 per person in the country, which is really sad. So people are not gonna be happy when people they go to bed hungry, people and they no get job, people and take drugs and unemployment high. So it's really sad. With politicians, therefore, they look at this and examine themselves and see whether they elect the people or not, or they elect their own pockets. Them. Now listen to the Minister of Information in response to this World Happiness Report, where he go on AYV TV.
So firstly, I'd like us to start off with the World Happiness Report, which has ranked Sierra Leone 146th. What does the government make of this?
Well, thank you very much. I want to say that I'm happy to talk about anything and everything, but I will say that for the record, none of your producers told me we're here to talk about happiness reports. It was not part of the invitation that was sent to me. And this idea of gotcha journalism is terrible for you. It's terrible for me. We'll have a better conversation if you told me. I will talk to the right people. I will do all the research, and I will come here and we will do better for the people of this country. This notion that you call me to come talk about Cambia Civic Day, and while I'm here, you use something else as your headline, is a disservice to you, it's a disservice to the people. If you continue to do things like this, I am fine. I will come. I'm happy to talk. But you will discourage other government officials, even other leaders, to come to your show. Journalism should not be gotcha. It should not be gotcha, not to trap. Okay? So I'm happy to answer the questions because I'm happy to answer all questions. But I think courtesy also demands that you let me know. This will be the topic, especially if you're going to use it as headline in the way that you have just done.
So what does the government make of the report?
Happiness is defined, again, the index compares all countries around the world. I just came from Gambia. Our people are poor, but they are not sad. The notion that what you judge as happiness, the index that is used, if in certain societies they don't have food to eat, that's equal to unhappiness, sadness. I come from poor societies. I was born in Kanike. My parents are from Jimibabo and from Bant. Even when they don't have anything to eat, they will make a place for the stranger. They will prepare the last meal for the person that's to come. There's a sense of pride and national civic pride that we have. I think a report like this is useful for the kinds of conversations that you're having, the kind of, let's ask the government. And by the way, in your introduction, you said Sierra Leone has replaced Afghanistan. That's also not true. We have not replaced Afghanistan in the report. We're ranked among the countries that are considered unhappiest. And unhappiness, it's important for people at home to understand. It's not defined as your metaphysical, emotional state. It's defined, they use indices like, the economic situation, what you refer to as freedom. And if you take each and every one of those things, I like to say, we are, as a country, we're heading in the right direction. Every time a report reminds us of how the economic situation is, about our poverty levels in our country, it's something that the government takes seriously. But it's not, again, in my mind, it's not, people don't judge, we just come from one of the poorest districts where people are really impoverished. But people are not looking for what people in Finland are looking for overnight. The people of Sierra Leone understand the context, they understand what they are. They want their lives to be better. They want to have access to school, which government has provided through the free quality school education program. They have challenges with the school bus that they have. They want to make sure they have a fire force that's functional. They want good roads so that they can get their things happening. They don't have all of those things. For me, I'd rather focus my attention on those things. How are we solving the basic problems of the citizens of the country? But to say, let's focus on between Sierra Leone and Norway and Finland, who is happier. I've been to many of these countries. I find the Sierra Leonean spirit much happier than these things. So I don't find it a particularly helpful index. What it draws attention to is the reality that we live in. I think most people, everybody in Sierra Leone knows that we live in tough times. The economy is not where we want it to be. We had an inflation rate just last year of over 55%. We're now closer to 10%. So we're headed in the right direction. But, if it's a conversation about whether things are hard in Sierra Leone, these people of Sierra Leone know that what they want to hear is what we're doing and what we're all doing together to solve these problems. And that's something we continue to work on.
The key indicators include social support, income, health, freedom, generosity, corruption levels, among others. So how would you rate our current status?
You take generosity, for example. You suggest that the people of Sierra Leone are not generous. This is one of the most generous countries in the face of the earth. That's why I say again, I don't know how these studies are done. I've traveled to over 80 countries in the world. I have not met many societies where people are as generous as the Sierra Leonean spirit. I just said, you go to the poorest home in my village, they want to welcome the stranger. They will give you their last bed in their house. You take the issue of corruption. Since President Bio came to power, every independent assessment of our performance on corruption has said we're headed in the right direction. The Anti-Corruption Commissioner has championed a transformation of our corruption scores. We used to score less than 40%, less than 50% on the Control of Corruption Index. For example, if you take MCC and Transparency International, he has consistently scored over 70%. Does that mean that, oh, the report is wrong? I'm not challenging the report. I'm just saying, I'm speaking to our reality. Because now I believe they are comparing apples and oranges in some cases and using index. Again, if you had given me the courtesy of saying, oh, we will discuss this report, I will have taken a little bit, I will have, dug a little bit deeper into it and prepared particularly for that report. That's not what I'm here to talk about. But since you've brought it up, I'm saying that if you take things like generosity, as you just mentioned, example, social support. Last year, government paid direct cash transfer to over 900,000 homes, affecting about 5 million people. We're poor. Our economy, is not huge enough. We don't have enough resources. But in terms of social support to the poor, President Bio has deliberately, intentionally moved not insignificant resources, direct cash support through our social safety net programs to 900,000 poor households. And household sizes are measured by, if also they get up to 6 people. 6 people, it's inside one pot. So that's an example of, again, what we're doing. And as I said, when we go to Cambia, when we speak to the ordinary citizens, they're not looking at, what does the happiness index say? They're asking, are we solving our basic problems here? And those problems, food, education, technology, employment, those are the things President Bio has made its priority. Those are the things we're delivering on. And you talk about freedom, for example, and civic engagement. In the past year alone, we have continued to make progress on that. The last MCC scorecard that came out, when it looked at the question of expression, we scored very, very well, over 90% as a country. Freedom of information. That's something that we're very proud of. We'll continue to build on that. We've said we want to expand that. Just last week, we launched the first public interest media fund with our development partners to begin to create opportunities for the media to, again, improve professionalism, have access to resources to do more public interest media and things like that. So, am I saying, oh, the report is wrong? No. I'm saying that the ways that may measure some of these things may not be contextually appropriate for what, for example, the average person. Because again, if you just take this notion of generosity, I'm going back to that. We are very generous people. We are. That's just the reality of who we are. So to say that, oh, Sierra Leone is not a generous country, or the people of Sierra Leone. And in fact, after the war, a lot of people came here and said they were shocked that people are still just smiling and laughing and happy. And that's something that we maintain. As I said, just now we're in Cambia, speaking to ordinary citizens, ask them, they speak to you with such passion. I remember the youth leader was speaking from the panel, and she was speaking and crying at some point. And right after those tears, the women are gathered and they're dancing and singing at the same time. That's the Sierra Leonean spirit. That the nuance of that is not captured in a headline report that says, oh, you're at the bottom of an index somewhere. We should pay attention to those things that the report says, obviously. We will continue to do what we need to do to make sure that we improve on any and all indexes, as we have done under the leadership of President Bio. But I think, again, we should be focused on how do we solve the basic problems for our society, and that's what we're doing.
Yep. So, Minister, before I go over to our journalist who's just spoken, good morning, Melvin. Our producer has just informed us that you were told that you were going to be discussing, the All Happiness Report, the text he sent you, which is copied in our group now as I'm reading.
Your producer and I had a phone conversation and said he wants to talk about Civic Day. And I said specifically, it's not possible for me to do Wednesday because we're coming back either late at night or in the morning. He said, can you do Thursday? I said, yes. Yesterday we had a conversation. He said, they're expecting me today. I said, yes, we'll talk about Civic Day. That's it. This morning he called me on my way here. I said, I will be there. At no point did he tell me that we're going to talk about Happiness Day. As I've said, it's okay. I'm here. I can talk about happiness reports. I can talk about anything. That's my job, to speak for the government of Sierra Leone. I just believe that it's important as a courtesy to let me know in advance so I can prep and do you justice, and it doesn't feel like we're setting traps for each other.